You ever wonder what happens to the cartoons that never make it to air? The ones the studios bury so deep, even the creators pretend they don't exist. I used to think they just got scrapped, bad writing, budget cuts, whatever. Innocent casualties of Saturday morning television. But some nights, when the rain taps against the window like it's trying to get in, I remember that one file, the one we shouldn't have clicked. It was a few months ago, one of those endless stormy evenings where the power flickers just enough to make you jumpy. I was alone, half drunk on cheap nostalgia, digging through dusty corners of the internet for old episodes of Sunnyvale Friends. You know, that brightly colored show we all grew up with. The one with the laughing animals, the catchy songs, the lessons about sharing and bravery that felt like warm blankets on sick days. God, I loved that show. We all did. I ended up on a forum thread titled something innocuous like Rare Sunnyvale Clips, Dev Builds, and Lost Media. Most of it was garbage, grainy recordings of commercials, behind-the-scenes fluff. But buried on page 7, a single anonymous post, a mega link, no description, just the file name, Sunnyvale S09E13 unaired final. MKV and a warning in parentheses, do not watch with others. I laughed at that. Pirated childhoods, right. What's the worst that could happen? Some executive's lawsuit. I downloaded it anyway, heart doing that little flutter you get when you're about to revisit something sacred. The file was huge, took forever on my shaky connection. While it crawled, I texted the group chat, me, Jess, Marcus, and Leela. Old college friends who still get together for bad movies and worse decisions. Found the Holy Grail, I wrote. Unaired Sunnyvale episode. Movie night tomorrow. They were in immediately. Jess sent a string of crying laughing emojis. Marcus replied with the old theme song lyrics. Leela just said, finally, something worth leaving the house for. We planned it like it was Christmas, pizza, blankets, the works. Pure comfort. Pure innocence. But as the download hit 99%, my screen glitched for half a second. Just long enough for the progress bar to freeze and something to flicker across the preview thumbnail. Sunny the squirrel staring straight out, eyes too wide, mouth stretched in a smile that didn't look happy at all. I blinked and it was gone. Normal cartoon thumbnail again. I told myself it was nothing. Tired eyes, bad connection artifact. We were just going to watch a Forgotten Kids episode, laugh at the dated animation, feel young for an hour. That's all. If you've been here since my last post, the one about the radio static that whispered our names, you already know some doors aren't meant to open. Some episodes aren't lost. They're hidden for a reason. And tomorrow night, we were about to hit play. The next night arrived wrapped in that perfect kind of cozy darkness, rain still drumming steady against the windows, the kind that makes staying in feel like the best idea in the world. My apartment smelled like pizza grease and buttered popcorn, fairy lights strung lazily across the living room because Leela insisted it gave nostalgia vibes. We were all sprawled out like we used to in college, Jess cross-legged on the floor with her back against the couch, Marcus hogging the good armchair, Leela and me sharing the saggy sofa under a pile of blankets that smelled faintly of lavender detergent. It was one of those evenings you want to bottle. No work talk, no adulting. Just us a little buzzed on cheap wine, trading stories about the dumbest things we believed as kids because of Sunnyvale Friends. Jess swore the theme song cured her chickenpox. Marcus claimed he tried to teach his goldfish to talk after one episode. We laughed until our sides hurt, the room warm and golden and safe. I remember glancing around at them and feeling this rush of gratitude. These people knew me before life got complicated. Before bills and breakups and the slow erosion of wonder. Tonight we were going to rewind time with a lost episode. What could be more harmless? I'd queued the file on my laptop, hooked up to the TV. The thumbnail sat there innocently, Sunny the squirrel waving, big cheerful eyes, the whole gang behind him in that familiar sunny meadow. But I hadn't told them about the forum warning yet. Or the weird glitch I'd seen. Didn't want to kill the mood. All right, nerds, I said, raising my glass. Prepare for the greatest archaeological discovery since sliced bread. Marcus snorted. If this turns out to be some intern's acid trip, I'm leaving. It won't, Leela said confidently, stealing a slice of pepperoni. The file name literally says final. That means it was finished. They just didn't air it. Jess tilted her head. Why not, though? Sunnyvale was huge. They aired everything back then. I shrugged, playing it cool. Budget, probably. Or one of the voice actors said a bad word. Light laughter rippled through the room. Lazy. Comfortable. But as I moved the cursor over the play button, I felt it again, that tiny prickle at the back of my neck. I'd skimmed more of that forum thread while the pizza baked. Scattered comments from people claiming to have seen S09E13. Most were jokes, memes, creepypasta stuff. A couple posts just said, "Don't watch in groups," or "It knows how many are in the room." Classic internet spooky nonsense. Marcus caught me hesitating. You good, mans. You look like you're about to propose to the remote. Yeah, I laughed, forcing brightness into my voice. Just savoring the moment. Childhood resurrection in 3, 2. I hit play. The screen went black for half a second longer than normal. Then the old theme started, slightly off-key, like a music box winding down. The familiar logo bloomed, but the colors looked washed out, muted. We all leaned forward anyway, grinning like idiots. We had no idea this file wasn't just forgotten. It was buried. And some things stay buried because they follow rules we don't understand yet. Rules that start counting the second you press play. The opening credits rolled just like I remembered, bright colors, bouncy music, the whole gang waving from that endless sunny meadow. For the first 30 seconds, everything felt perfect. Jess sighed happily and whispered, "God, I can smell the Saturday morning cereal already." We all murmured agreement, sinking deeper into the blankets, letting the warmth of pure nostalgia wash over us. It was exactly what we'd come for. Then the title card appeared, Sunnyvale Friends, Season 9, Episode 13, The Forever Playdate. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Forever Playdates. Sounds like a threat. We laughed, but the laugh felt a little thinner. The animation shifted into the first scene, Sunny the squirrel bouncing through the forest, calling for his friends. Same voice actor, same cheerful cadence. But something was off. The colors weren't as saturated as they should have been. The greens looked sickly, the sky a washed-out gray instead of that impossible blue we all knew by heart. I told myself it was compression artifacts, old file degradation. Nothing more. The plot started innocently enough, the friends planning a massive picnic that would last forever and ever. Cute, right? Except Sunny kept repeating that phrase, forever and ever, a beat too long each time, like the voice track had a tiny echo layered under it. Layla nudged me. They're really leaning into the title, huh? About 5 minutes in, the first real glitch happened. The screen stuttered, pixels fracturing for half a second. When it cleared, Sunny was staring straight at the camera, breaking the fourth wall in a way the show literally never did, and said, clear as day, "Jess, you still bite your nails when you're nervous." The room went dead silent. Jess's hand froze halfway to her mouth. She'd been doing exactly that, nibbling her thumbnail without thinking. She yanked it away like she'd been caught stealing. "Okay, coincidence," she said, voice too high. "Probably a meme edit or something." Marcus forced a chuckle. Yeah, deepfake kids shows are the new TikTok trend. But we kept watching. Because that's what you do, isn't it? You laugh it off and keep watching. A few minutes later, Hopper the rabbit hopped into frame, carrying a basket of carrots. He turned to the camera again, another impossible direct address, and said in that familiar goofy voice, "Marcus, you never told them about the internship you lost, did you?" Marcus went pale. I'd never seen him look like that. He'd confessed to me once, drunk, about bombing an interview and lying to everyone that he'd turned it down. No one else knew. Not even Layla's. "Okay, what the fuck," he whispered. Layla shifted beside me. "Turn it off. This isn't funny." But I couldn't move. None of us could. The episode kept rolling, the characters chatting like nothing had happened, planning their eternal picnic while the background music warped lower and lower, like a tape slowing down. Then Sunny looked out again, smile stretching wider than animation should allow, and said, "Don't worry. We know all your little secrets. We've always known." Cartoons predicting my friends' private shames. Talk about animated drama. I wanted to laugh it off as some sick prank, maybe a hacked file from a disgruntled animator with too much time and access to old voice clips. But the conspiracy forums I'd skimmed flashed through my mind, whispers about episodes pulled last minute because test audiences wouldn't stop crying, about animators who quit mid-season and vanished. Rumors that certain frames contained things you only noticed on repeat viewings. And then, as Hopper reached for a picnic blanket on screen, Marcus, in real life, without thinking, leaned forward to grab the bag of chips beside his chair at the exact same moment, the exact same angle. The rabbit paused, looked right at him, and copied the motion a split second later. Comment below if your favorite childhood show ever felt a little too real, because ours just started watching us back. We all sat frozen for what felt like minutes, staring at the screen where Hopper the rabbit had just mimicked Marcus's exact movement. The episode kept playing, cheerful music bubbling under the scene like nothing catastrophic had happened. Pizza boxes sat open and forgotten, steam long gone cold. The fairy lights twinkled innocently overhead, but the room didn't feel warm anymore. Jez broke the silence first, her laugh cracking like thin ice. "Okay, that was edited. Someone's messing with us. Deepfake cartoon voices are a thing now, right?" Marcus rubbed his face, trying to play it cool. "Yeah, has to be. Some troll stitched in clips from our socials or something. Creepy as hell, but explainable." Layla hugged her knees to her chest. "It knew about my nails. And your internship. That's not public info." I hit pause finally, the screen freezing on Sunny's too-wide smile. My hand was shaking a little. "Look, maybe it's AR bullshit. Like those filters that read your room. Or the files infected with some prank malware that accesses microphones, cameras." "Exactly," Marcus jumped in, too quick. "Tech prank. That's all." We clung to that explanation like a life raft. Started rewinding the weird parts, frame by frame, hunting for seams, for proof it was fake. Jess pulled out her phone, Googling Sunnyvale lost episode hoax, while Leela refreshed the pizza, anything to bring back normalcy. For a few minutes, it almost worked. We cracked jokes about how we'd go viral exposing the prank, how the creator was probably some lonely genius in a basement. But every time we replayed Sunny saying Jess's name, the laughter died faster. And the background music, even paused, seemed to hum faintly from the TV speakers, like it didn't respect the stop button. Great, I remember thinking. Now I'm scared of pixelated bunnies. What's next? Trauma from breakfast cereal mascots. I tried sarcasm to keep the fear at bay, but inside, doubt was spreading like frost on glass. Those forum threads I'd skimmed earlier kept resurfacing, scattered posts from people who claimed to have watched this exact episode years ago. Most were dismissed as creepypasta, but a few accounts just stopped mid-sentence. Usernames that hadn't posted since the day they described watching the forever playdate. No follow-ups. No, it was fake lol. Just silence. I didn't mention that yet. Didn't want to tip the mood further. Marcus clapped his hands suddenly. Screw it. We came to watch a lost episode. Let's finish it. Prove it's nothing. Jess hesitated. You sure? Yeah, he said, voice steadier than his eyes. If we stop now, we'll always wonder. And I hate wondering. Leela looked at me. I looked at the frozen frame, Sonny staring straight out, like he was waiting for our answer. I hit play again. We thought we were choosing courage. Thought finishing the episode would give us back control. But some stories don't let you pause forever. And the longer you watch, the more it watches you. The episode rolled on, and the picnic scene stretched longer than any kid's segment had a right to. The characters spread blankets, unpacked endless food, but their movements started looping, subtle at first, then obvious. Sonny poured lemonade that never emptied. Hopper arranged carrots in patterns that hurt to follow. The laughter track played, but it was layered with something lower, like distant crying. Then the tone cracked open. Sonny turned to the camera again, eyes glossy and wrong. Let's play a game, he chirped. One where nobody ever leaves. The screen cut to a close-up of Leela's favorite character, Twinkle the fox, skipping through the meadow. Except Twinkle tripped hard, face planting into the grass. When she stood, her animated fur was matted with red. Cartoon blood, bright and glossy, dripping down her smiling muzzle. Oopsie, she giggled. Leela always falls when she's running from the truth, doesn't she? Leela made a small, wounded sound beside me. Last year, she'd shattered her ankle, fleeing an argument with her ex. She'd never told Jess or Marcus the full story. Until now, apparently. The room lights flickered once. Just once. But the fairy lights dimmed in sync, with the meadow darkening on screen. Jess whispered, "This isn't funny anymore. Turn it off." But Marcus was staring, transfixed. Wait. Look. On screen, the friends started arguing, petty at first, then vicious. Sonny accused Hopper of stealing. Twinkle called Sonny a liar. Voices rose in that chipper cartoon pitch, but the words were ours. Exact phrases we'd hurled at each other during drunk fights years ago, things we'd buried and forgiven. The animation twisted their faces into exaggerated rage, while the laughter track kept going, manic. My stomach dropped. I remembered that haunted VHS tape case I posted about last summer, the one where the family's home videos started showing arguments that hadn't happened yet. You guys flooded the comments with theories, remember? Some said it was predictive editing, others swore it fed on regret. I thought we'd laughed that one off too. Here it was again. Same flavor of wrong. The lights flickered harder. Popcorn bowl vibrated on the coffee table. Jess grabbed my arm, nails digging in. Do you feel that? The air's heavy. It was. Like the room had filled with water we couldn't see. Then the characters on screen stopped fighting. They turned all at once, faces smoothing back into those vacant smiles. Sonny stepped forward until his nose almost touched the inside of the screen. Marcus, he said, clear and sweet. Why don't you tell them about the night you drove home blackout drunk? The night you almost didn't make it. Marcus's face drained of color. He'd confessed that to me alone, in tears, 6 months ago. Swore he'd never touch whiskey again. No one else knew. He lunged for the remote, but his hand passed through it, like the table had shifted an inch when we weren't looking. The remote clattered to the floor, out of reach. On screen, the picnic dissolved into chaos. Blankets caught impossible fire. Characters chased each other with oversized mallets that left red smears. But their eyes stayed locked on us, tracking every flinch, every tear. Hopper tilted his head. We're all friends forever now. The overhead bulb popped, plunging us into strobing fairy-light darkness. In the flashes, I saw them, faint outlines of the characters standing between us. Sonny beside Marcus, head tilted. Twinkle stroking Jess's hair with a paw that wasn't really there. Yet, Jess was crying quietly. Leela rocked back and forth. Marcus kept whispering, "No, no, no," like a prayer. And Sunny, sweet, innocent Sunny, leaned closer still, until his face filled the entire screen, pixels warping around the edges. He smiled with too many teeth and said, soft as bedtime stories, "Jess, it's your turn next." Oh, drop your theories below, guys. Could this happen to you? Because right now, I'm not sure any of us are walking away from this playdate. I finally smashed the spacebar, pausing the episode on Sunny's distorted face, mouth open mid-sentence, eyes too large, pixels bleeding at the edges. The sudden silence felt louder than the chaos. Jess was sobbing into her knees. Marcus kept flexing his hands like he couldn't feel them. Leela stared at the frozen screen as if it might lunge. "We need answers," I said, voice cracking. "No." We scattered like startled birds, phones out, laptops open, the cozy blanket fort abandoned. The fairy lights still glowed, but they looked sickly now, casting long, twitching shadows that didn't match our movements. Rain hammered the windows harder, like it wanted in. Jess wiped her face. Google the episode title. Something has to explain this. I was already typing, fingers clumsy. Sunnyvale Friends unaired episode, Forever Playdate. Results were thin, mostly dead links, Reddit threads from years ago marked removed. One archived forum post caught my eye, a grainy screenshot of the exact title card we'd just seen, posted by a user who hadn't logged in since 2018. Caption: watched it with 3 friends. 2 stopped talking. 1 stopped everything. Marcus leaned over my shoulder. Click the replies. Most were jokes. A few weren't. Someone claimed the episode was shelved after child test audiences drew pictures of the characters with no eyes. Another said the voice actors recorded under NDAs, so tight, one allegedly vanished mid-production. Conspiracy Hour, sponsored by insomnia and impending breakdowns. Leela found a Discord invite buried in an old pasta bin, some private server called Lost Media Recovery. She joined on her phone, muttering, "If this is LARPing, I swear." Within minutes, a user named ArchiveRat DM'd her, "You watched S09E13." We crowded around her screen. Leela typed back, "How did you know?" 3 dots. Then, because your lights are flickering right now. And someone in your room just whispered, "Keep going." We all froze. No one had spoken. The air felt thick again, like breathing soup. Marcus laughed, but it came out strangled. "Okay, that's coincidence. Or you're on camera." Archiverat, I'm not. The episode marks you. It counts viewers. It learns. The more you watch, the more it sinks. Some of us tried to archive deeper, raw production files, animatic layers. Bad idea. Things follow you out. Jess read aloud, voice trembling. "What things?" Echoes, they typed. Frames that move when you're not looking. Voices in empty rooms. And if you finish it, the playdate becomes permanent. I felt cold sweat down my spine. Permanent how? No answer for a long minute. Then don't resume. Delete everything. Burn the drive if you have to. But even as we read that, my laptop speaker crackled. The paused episode unpaused itself. Sunny's frozen mouth moved a fraction. Leela slammed the lid shut. "We're deleting it. Right now." We tried. Force quit trash, empty trash, even yanked the battery. But the file reappeared. The Discord user went offline mid-sentence. Marcus rubbed his temples. "There are deeper archives," they said. "Maybe instructions. A way to stop it." Jess shook her head. "Or maybe that's how it tricks you into watching more." I looked at my friends, terrified, exhausted, clinging to the last shreds of rationality with our glowing screens like talismans. Modern weapons against something ancient wearing cartoon skin. But the TV flickered back to life on its own. The episode waited exactly where we'd left it, progress bar pulsing like a heartbeat. We knew we should smash the screen, cut power, run into the rain, and never look back. Instead, we sat down again. Because some doors, once cracked, don't let you walk away without seeing what's inside. We settled back into our places like sleepwalkers, the laptop screen our only light now. The rain outside had turned vicious, slashing the windows and sheets. My hands hovered over the trackpad, trembling. Part of me screamed to smash the thing against the wall. But another part, the stupid, curious part that always gets us killed in stories, whispered we had to know how it ended. I pressed play. The episode resumed exactly where Sonny had left off, his face still filling the screen, whispering Jess's name like a lullaby. Then he pulled back, revealing the picnic gone wrong, flames licking the edges of the meadow, characters frozen in screams that never came out because the laughter track drowned them. Twinkle the fox stepped forward next, fur singed, eyes black voids. Jess, she sang, voice warping between childlike and something ancient, remember the messages you never sent. The ones apologizing before it was too late. Jess let out a choked sob. She'd lost her mom suddenly last year, drafts of unsent texts still rotting in her phone. Things she'd meant to say. Things she'd never get to. The shadows in the room stretched, detaching from the walls. I watched one slither across the ceiling like spilled ink, forming the rough shape of Sonny's ears. No one else noticed yet. They were too busy watching their own ghosts parade on screen. Hopper bounded in, dragging a comically oversized clock that ticked backward. Time to play forever, he announced. The hands spun faster, and in perfect sync, the clock on my microwave, visible through the kitchen doorway, started beeping erratically, numbers scrambling. Marcus tried to stand. This isn't we have to. But his words cut off as Sonny turned to him again. Marcus, you always run when it gets hard. Just like now. Marcus sat back down hard, like invisible hands pushed him. His eyes glistened. We were cracking one by one. I leaned toward the screen, whispering to myself more than anyone, my life's a bad reboot now. Same characters, worse writing. The weak attempt at humor, but it came out hollow. Leela shot me a look that said, shut up, this isn't funny anymore. Maybe it never was. The characters gathered in a circle, holding hands, or paws, around a picnic basket that pulsed like a heart. They started chanting the old theme song, but the lyrics twisted. Sunnyvale friends, forever and ever, no leaving, no ending, together forever. And then the voices weren't just from the speakers. They echoed in the room. Soft at first, like wind through cracks. Then louder. Jess's mom's voice, gentle and scolding about those unsent messages. My ex's voice laughing at mistakes I'd buried. Secrets we'd whispered to each other in confidence years ago, now sung back in cartoon falsetto. You guys remember the community ghost stories we trade in the comments. The ones where people swear their reflections lag a second behind. Or the baby monitor that showed a child who wasn't there. We always laugh, say it's sleep paralysis, bad wiring. In-jokes to keep the dark at arm's length. This was all of those stories at once. The fairy lights burst one by one, popping like gunfire. In the strobes, I saw them, faint outlines of the characters standing between us. Sonny beside Marcus, head tilted. Twinkle stroking Jess's, hair with a paw that wasn't really there. Yet, Leela grabbed my sleeve, nails breaking skin. They're here. On screen, the circle tightened. The basket opened, revealing nothing but darkness that spilled out like smoke, flooding the meadow, swallowing the colors until only those empty smiling faces remained. Sonny looked straight into the camera, straight into us, and said, calm as a promise, one more act. Then the playdate starts for real. Someone won't wake up tomorrow. The screen went black. But the chanting didn't stop. Don't stop watching now, guys. Because whatever's on the other side, it never stops watching back. The screen stayed black for what felt like forever, but the chanting lingered, faint, overlapping voices threading through the walls like smoke. We didn't move. Couldn't. The room smelled of burnt plastic from the fairy lights and something sweeter, almost like rotted fruit from a cartoon picnic. Eventually, Jess reached out and closed the laptop. The click sounded final, like a coffin lid. Silence rushed in, heavy and accusing. Marcus was the first to speak, voice hoarse. It's over. We finished it. That's what it wanted, right? No one answered. Because we all felt it, the wrongness clinging to our skin, the sense that finishing hadn't ended anything. Leela stood up slowly, walked to the window, and stared out at the rain. I can still hear them, she whispered. Under the storm. Singing. I opened my phone, hands numb, and went back to that Discord server. Archive Rat was gone, account deleted. But a new pinned message glowed at the top. If you reach the end, welcome to the Forever Playdate. The episode was never meant to air because it enforces the rules. Every studio knows. Every network. They bury the ones that break through. Jess read over my shoulder. What rules? I scrolled. Old messages from users long silent. The cartoon wasn't cursed by accident. It was designed, commissioned in the late 90s, as part of a test batch using subliminal patterns meant to pacify test audiences. But one episode went too far. It learned. Started pulling real memories, real fears, to keep viewers watching. Forever. The studio pulled it, scrubbed records, paid off everyone. Yet copies leaked anyway, passed hand to hand like a virus wearing nostalgia's face. Marcus laughed, bitter and broken. So we just watched corporate black magic. Great. My childhood's officially ruined by boardroom greed. Eyes that see too much can't unsee. I felt it already, every time I blinked. Faint afterimages of Sunny's smile flickered on my eyelids. Jess admitted she saw twinkle in the corners of reflections. Leela swore the shadows still had ears. We argued then, voices rising for the first time in hours. Marcus accused me of dragging them into this. Jess blamed Lila for finding the Discord link. I fired back that we'd all pressed play together, cowards hiding behind curiosity. Old betrayals surfaced, the ones the episode had dug up and weaponized. Friendships frayed right there on the living room floor, threads snapping one by one. But buried in the server archives was one last thread, a private invite to something called Viewer Network. A place where survivors trade ways to quiet the echoes. Ways to maybe break the rules. I didn't click it. Not yet. Because the laptop screen flickered back to life on its own. No file opened. Just black. And in the reflection, 4 familiar animal shapes standing quietly behind us, waiting for the next playdate to begin. We couldn't just sit there waiting for whatever came next. Marcus snapped first, grabbing the laptop like it had personally insulted him. We end this now. He slammed it against the coffee table edge, once, twice. The screen cracked, spiderwebbing from the corner, but the black surface rippled like water, smoothing out again. No damage stuck. Jess lunged for the power cord, yanking it from the wall. The battery light glowed steady anyway, mocking us. Leela ran to the kitchen, returned with a hammer from the junk drawer. Old school delation. She swung hard. The chassis dented, keys popped off, but the screen flickered to life mid-impact, Sunny's face reassembling from fractured pixels, smiling wider. Friends don't hurt friends, he chirped through tinny speakers that shouldn't work anymore. Marcus wrestled the hammer away. Outside. We burn it. We stumbled into the hallway, rain-soaked shoes slipping on the hardwood, last fleeting grasp at normalcy, 4 friends on a stupid mission like we used to in college. The elevator was out, so we took the stairs, laptop clutched under my arm, pulsing warm against my chest like a heartbeat. In the alley behind the building, Rain pounded down cold and relentless. Marcus found the metal trash can we used for parties, dumped soggy cardboard inside. Jess produced a lighter with shaking hands. We doused the laptop in the cheap wine left in the bottle. Flames caught fast, orange light dancing on our wet faces. For one breathless moment, it felt like victory, the plastic melting, circuits popping, screen bubbling black. Then the fire shifted color, sickly green at the edges. From the flames rose thin wisps forming familiar shapes, ears, tails, wide empty eyes. The chanting started again, louder than the rain, coming from everywhere and nowhere. Sunny's voice crackled through the downpour. You can't leave the playdate early. The alley lights exploded in showers of sparks. Shadows lunged from the walls, wrapping around our ankles like vines. Jess screamed as Twinkle's silhouette solidified beside her, paw reaching out. We were going to share everything forever, it whispered in her mom's voice. Marcus swung the hammer wildly, hitting nothing but air that felt solid. Get off her. Leela backed against the brick wall, eyes wide. Look at the fire. The laptop, or what was left of it, sat untouched in the flames, screen glowing pristine. On it played the episode from the beginning, the title card, the meadow, the four of us walking into frame, exact clothes, exact terror on our faces, waving cheerfully as the camera pulled back. That's when the twist hit me like ice water. Early in the night, ArchiveRat had typed, "It counts viewers. Not watches. Counts." And we'd invited it to start over with fresh eyes, ours trapped in the loop. I dropped to my knees in the puddle, rain mixing with tears I didn't know I'd started. We thought it was just a show, I whispered to no one, to all of them. Fools. We were always the episode. The shadows tightened. The chanting swelled. And somewhere in the flames, Sunny waved goodbye or hello. The rain kept falling, harder now, turning the alley into a shallow river around our feet. The flames in the trash can sputtered but refused to die, that unnatural green tint pulsing like a signal. We stood there, four-soaked, shivering figures, watching the melted remains of the laptop reform slowly, plastic knitting back together, screen flickering to life with the familiar meadow. No one spoke at first. What was there to say? We detried everything rational, everything desperate. And it hadn't mattered. Jess broke away first, backing toward the alley mouth. I'm going home, she said, voice flat. Maybe distance helps. Marcus nodded numbly. Yeah. Separate. Break the count. Leela just stared at the fire, rain streaking her face like tears she wasn't shedding anymore. I wanted to reach for her, for any of them, but my arms felt too heavy. The shadows had loosened their grip, but they lingered at the edges of my vision, faint outlines waiting patiently. We parted without hugs, without promises to check in tomorrow. Just exhausted nods and averted eyes. The kind of goodbye that feels permanent even when you pretend it is. I trudged back upstairs alone. The apartment was dark, pizza boxes cold, blankets strewn like a crime scene. I collapsed on the couch and stared at the ceiling, listening to the storm. For a while, nothing. Blessed nothing. Then my phone buzzed on the coffee table. I didn't want to look, but I did. A new notification from a file-sharing app I'd deleted months ago. Subject line, Sunnyvale S09E13, unaired final. MKV, download ready. My blood turned to ice. I hadn't uploaded anything. Hadn't logged in. The thumbnail loaded slowly, the meadow again, but this time 5 figures stood in the circle instead of 4. Sunny, Hopper, Twinkle, and 4 human shapes in rain-soaked clothes, faces blurred just enough to deny recognition. But I knew. I swiped it away. Blocked the sender. Powered off the phone completely. It powered back on 30 seconds later. Battery icon full, even though it had been dying earlier. The file waited, progress bar at 100%. I threw it against the wall. Screen cracked. but the download notification glowed through the fractures, cheerful as ever. Hours passed like that, me pacing, whispering curses at the dark, trying every trick I could think of. Factory reset. SIM removal. Even wrapping it in foil like some paranoid survivalist. Nothing stuck. The episode found new homes. My tablet, my smart TV, even the forgotten old desktop in the closet. It spread quietly, patiently, like it had all the time in the world. Because it did. Dawn crept in eventually, gray and indifferent. I sat on the floor amid scattered devices, all displaying the same frozen title card. The chanting had stopped, replaced by something worse, silence that felt watchful. I thought about calling the others. Warned them it wasn't over. But what would I say? That we're carriers now. That every screen we touch might bloom with that meadow next. Instead, I opened my recording app, the one I use for these posts, and started talking. Whispering, really. Because if I'm going down, at least the truth gets out. At least someone else might hesitate before clicking a link that promises childhood back. You're listening to this now, which means you found it. Maybe in your recommended videos. Maybe a friend shared it for the nostalgia. Doesn't matter. What matters is this: some stories aren't meant to end. Some episodes keep recruiting. And now, wherever you are, whatever screen you're watching on, it's waiting for your click. Share your experiences below, guys. Your lost media stories. Your glitches that knew too much. Because I'm starting to think we're all episodes in the same endless season. Next case drops soon, if there is a next. Dig deeper with me. Or don't. But whatever you do, don't watch alone.